All right, welcome everyone. We're going to start on our backs today. So let's go ahead and come into any comfortable position that you choose on your back. So maybe bending those knees if that feels better for the back. And if we have our knees bent, we can point them straight up toward the ceiling. We could walk our feet out towards the edges of the mat so the knees resting against each other. Or I can bring the soles of our feet together and let those knees open out to the side. So whatever feels most comfortable for us. We can also always just extend the legs out long, resting the arms wherever they're the most comfortable, and maybe allowing the eyes to close as we start to settle in for our yoga practice today. Taking some nice full deep inhales and exhales. Let's take a little scan of the body, starting at the soles of our feet. Making our way into the feet and ankles, and just kind of noticing what's there. Traveling up into the lower legs, the shins and the calves, up into the knees. Moving up into the thighs, all the way up into the hips and the pelvis. Moving up into the lower back, belly. Find any areas that need a little extra tension. Pausing in those areas to focus our breath there. Exhaling away any tension or stress that we find. Moving up into the ribs and the middle back, the chest and the upper back. Moving into the shoulders, going down the arms, down the upper arms, into the elbows, down into the forearms, the wrists, the hands, and the fingers. Moving up into the neck and the head, hitting the face and the top of the head. Let's bring our attention to the breath. We're starting to lengthen and deepen that breath, both on the inhale and the exhale. Engaging our diaphragmatic breathing, so letting that belly rise on the inhales, fall on the exhales. Let's take a few more of these really nice deep breaths. We'll let our breath settle into more natural rhythm and depth. So I'll go ahead and bend our knees now if they're not already bent, walking the feet out towards the edge of the mat so the knees resting against each other, maybe moving the arms away from the body a little bit. And start with some windshield wipers, just gently taking those knees back and forth from side to side, moving at our own pace here. We can keep our eyes closed if we want. Taking a few more on each side. Once we're even on both sides, we'll bring our knees to the center, hooking our feet in towards each other a little bit, maybe bringing them in closer to the bottom as well, reaching arms all the way out into a T. We'll take both knees to the right for a lying spinal twist. Keeping our shoulders grounded, maybe turning the head to look at the left arm. Releasing and bringing the knees and the head up to the center, dropping those knees over to the left. Maybe looking down that right arm. In that right shoulder, grounded. Start to move with our breath, inhaling knees up to center, exhaling them to the right, inhaling them through center, and then exhaling them to the left. Just continue to move with our breath, inhaling knees through center, exhaling, alternating them from side to side. Our shoulders grounded. We can keep the feet on the mat as well, or we can pick them up. Bring those knees a little closer to the chest. The head can stay still, or we can look in the opposite direction of the knees as we twist. Taking a couple more on each side. Once we're even on both sides, let's bring those knees to center, hugging them into the chest, giving them a nice squeeze. Let's release the arms back out into that T position, dropping our feet down to the mat. And then we're going to cross our left leg over our right thigh, sliding the hips slightly to the left, and then dropping both knees to the right. So another lying spinal twist, this time with our legs crossed. This is a little bit much for your back to have these legs crossed. You can always just uncross the legs and stack our knees. Let's bring those knees back up. We'll keep our legs crossed and center our hips on the mat. And then we'll pick our feet up and reach for opposite ankles with our hands. Using our hands to pull our ankles towards us. So we're in sort of a lying down cow's face pose or Gomukasana. Feeling a nice stretch in that left hip. Let's release. We'll bring the arms back out into that T position. Uncrossing the legs, recrossing them the other way, right leg over left. Hips slide over to the right a little bit, and then we drop the knees to the left. And again, if we need to, we can always uncross those legs. Keeping our shoulders grounded. Bring our knees back up, keeping our legs crossed. Let's center our hips, and we'll pick the feet up, reaching for those opposite ankles, pulling them in towards us. Let's release and uncross the legs, hugging the knees into the chest. Opening up the hips a little bit, reaching the arms between the legs. We can either grab a hold of our big toes with first two fingers and thumb, or we can grab onto the outsides of the feet, or the ankles, or the calves. Opening up the hips into happy baby. Bringing those knees down on either side of the torso. Pressing the tailbone down towards the mat. And then maybe if we like, we can Gently rock this pose side to side. Coming to center, let's bring the soles of our feet together. Grabbing a hold of our ankles, we'll pull our ankles in towards us, using our elbows to press the knees away from us. And let's release and hug those knees into the chest again. Taking some more rocks from side to side. Maybe placing the hands on the knees and circling those knees around first in one direction. And then in the opposite direction. Turning to center, either rolling onto your side, making your way up to seat that way, or grabbing a hold behind the knees. And using the legs to create a little momentum, rocking up into a comfortable seat. So we can sit with our legs crossed if we like. We can sit with our legs extended into staff pose if that's more comfortable. Maybe grabbing a blanket to sit on, rolling our shoulders up, back, and down, and dropping the chin down towards the chest. Bring the head back up to neutral, dropping the right ear over towards the right shoulder, keeping our shoulders level. Like we can take our right hand to the side of the head, just adding a little extra weight to the stretch. Maybe walking our left fingers out to the left side. Releasing back to center, taking that left ear over towards the left shoulder. Maybe taking the left hand to the side of the head, reaching out. That's great. Sink back to center. Let's tuck the chin in slightly towards the throat, keeping that chin level with the floor, turning the head to look over the right shoulder. Staying there, maybe dropping that chin down towards that shoulder a little bit. Chin back up, we'll come through center, looking over the left shoulder. Be dropping that chin down towards that shoulder. Chin back up, we'll come to center, placing hands behind the head and looking all the way up. Releasing, taking some shoulder circles first to the front. And then let's circle those shoulders to the back. Leaving those shoulders back and down. We'll start to circle the torso around in the hips, inhaling as we bring the chest to the front. Exhaling as we round the spine to the back. So we can make these circles whatever size we like. Small, medium, large. Moving at our own breath pace. Take a couple more in this direction. Then we'll pause and circle around in the opposite direction. Again, inhaling to the front, exhaling to the back. And with your breath at your pace. Exhale. Let's take one more here. Back to center, moving into a breathing twist. Inhaling, reaching both arms up overhead. Exhaling, gently twisting to one side, placing one hand in front and one behind. Inhaling, reaching the arms back up. Exhaling, gently twisting over to the other side. We'll just continue to move with our breath. Inhaling, reaching. Exhaling, twisting. Looking over your back shoulder as you twist. You're just looking out to the side. Maybe petting a cat if you have one. Holding for a few extra breaths on one side, and if you like, you can take that front hand and gently press into the opposite knee. A little more sensation in this twist. We'll gently release that, inhaling, reaching arms up, exhaling, gently twisting over to the other side. And again, we can press that front hand into the opposite knee if you like. Releasing, inhaling, reaching arms up, exhaling, bringing hands into heart center. And just pausing here for a few breaths, maybe taking this moment to set an intention for your practice, dedicating the efforts of your practice to someone or something. Remembering that it is your practice, so if you need to, please modify or skip anything that isn't working for you today. Listening to your body and staying with your breath. Staying in the present moment and letting go of any judgment or expectations about the practice today. Let's go ahead and cross our legs, but not cross them. We actually want sort of a looser version of our easy seated pose. So just moving that top leg out so that we're not actually crossing the ankles, but moving that front leg out away from us so we can see both of our feet and our ankles are kind of sort of lined up. They might not be, but you know, we'll get in the vicinity of that. And then we'll start to walk our hands out to the front. So feeling a nice stretch in the hips, dropping the head between the arms. Then we'll lift the head up and we'll walk our hands away from our front leg. So if the right leg is in front, we'll walk our hands over to the left or vice versa. And then we'll drop the head between the arms. Lifting the head back up, we'll bring the hands to center, walk them in, and we'll switch our legs. So again, we want a little bit of separation between the legs so we can actually see both of our feet. And then let's walk the hands out. We'll drop that head between the arms. And then lifting the head up, we'll walk our hands to the other side. So again, away from that front leg. Maybe dropping that head. I'm going to go a little less deep on this side. I have a little issue with this left hip, so I'm going to go a little gentler on this side. And then let's release. We'll bring our head back up and walk our hands to the center and bring them in. Then let's bring the soles of our feet together, coming into Baddha Konasana or butterfly pose. So we did a version of this on our backs earlier. Grabbing a hold of our ankles, sitting up nice and tall, hinging it forward at the hips, So we can lightly press into the knees with our elbows if we like, keeping our shoulders relaxed, breathing here. Releasing that fold and sliding the feet out double the distance away from us for star pose. So making sort of a diamond shape with our legs. Holding on to ankles, inhaling, lengthening the spine up, exhaling as we fold, pointing those elbows out to the sides. So when we move our feet a little further out, we kind of change the focus of stretch from the inner thigh and hip area to the outer hip area. And let's release that. We'll make our way to all fours for some cat and cows. So we'll bring our wrists underneath our shoulders, our knees and our hips, patting our knees if we need to, coming on to fists for wrists if those wrists are a little sensitive. On an inhale, bring the belly down, up and down. Exhaling and arching the spine, tucking the shin, the pelvis under into the head. Just flowing with the breath, warming up the spine, a little bit more here. Inhaling and exhaling. Keeping the elbows a little soft here. Let's take a couple more in each direction. Let's take one more of each. And then when we're done, we'll come back to our tabletop. We'll start with some little hip circles. So just picking one direction because we're going to change directions in a little bit. So just starting to circle those hips around, making small, medium, or large circles, whatever feels right for you and your hips today. Let's take one more in this direction, and then we'll pause. Start making those circles in the opposite direction. Let's take one more here. And when we're done, we'll sink the hips back to the heels to come into a child's pose. So we can take any version of this pose that we like. We can extend the arms out towards the front of the mat. We could stack our hands or fists, and maybe rest the forehead on them or bring the hands back by the feet with the palms facing up. The knees can stay together. We can separate them. We could also grab a block and rest the forehead on a block if we have one today. And if we're resting that forehead on something, either the mat or your hands or the block, we can gently rock the head side to side, just kind of massaging that third eye. Remembering that we can rest in this pose or really any seated or lying down pose of our choosing at any time during our practice, resting, and then just rejoining us whenever you are. We can stay here a little longer if we want. If we're ready, we can make our way into downward facing dog, planting the hands at the front of the mat, shoulder width apart, fingers spread wide, forward into toes, lifting hips up and back, coming into Adho Mukha Svanasana, downward facing dog. So feeling free to make any movements that feel right to the body today. if any. So lots of options for movements if you choose. You can pedal the feet out or shake the head out or take one leg up in the three-legged dog at a time, pivot the heels from side to side. You can always go back down to child's pose or lower the elbows into dolphin pose if our wrists are kind of talking to us today. And if we are moving our downward dog, we will eventually settle into a place of stillness, tucking the chin, looking back between our legs. And looking up to the hands, we'll just walk the feet up to the hands, coming into forward fold. Feet are hip width apart. We'll soften those knees, grabbing opposite elbows, letting that upper body hang. Shake the head out from side to side. Take it front to back. Sway the whole torso side to side. Coming back to center, releasing elbows, placing hands on shins or thighs, extending the spine, looking forward, taking a couple deep breaths here. On our next exhale, inhaling, reverse one dive all the way up. Exhaling, hands into heart center. And releasing arms down into Tadasana monkey pose. So just pulse in here. Checking in with the breath and the body. Noticing what's there. Take a nice big step out to the side for some moonflowers and sunflowers. Pointing our toes out about 45 degrees. On an inhale, reaching up and out to the corners of the room. Exhaling, bending knees, bringing the elbows into our sides. Inhaling, reaching up and out. Exhaling as we bend. Let's take a couple more. Following your own breath's pace. And we'll transition into sunflowers if we like. Inhaling, reaching arms all the way up, palms touch. Exhaling, bending the knees, circling the arms down and around. Inhaling back up. Exhaling as we fold. Let's take a couple more here. On this next one, let's leave our hands down so we can bring in a block if we need a little extra height. We can also widen our stance a little bit. And then we're just going to bend one knee at a time. Back and forth here. Getting a little bit more into those hips. So you might have some joint noises happening. I do this, my right ankle will click occasionally. Might have some knee cracking. Here's some noises in the hip itself. Just try to move that synovial fluid around in the joint. Everything moving. Let's do one more on each side. And when we're done, we'll bring the hands to center, bending both knees. We'll walk our hands up to our thighs, lifting the chest up, bringing hands into heart center, coming into a prayer squat. Let's lift our right heel up. And we'll release it down. Let's take the left heel up. And release. Now let's lift both heels up, hovering them over the mat. And release. Inhale, reaching arms up, straightening legs, and then we'll step the feet together. Bringing the hands into the heart. And then releasing arms down into Tadasana pose. Moving right into some sun salutations. Let's inhale and reach arms up. Exhaling as we swan dive down, forward fold. fold with soft knees, stepping that right foot back. You can stay on the toes or drop the knee. Let's leave our right hand on the mat. We'll take our left arm up for a little twist. Exhaling, releasing that left hand, taking the left foot back for downward dog or child's pose. Inhaling forward to plank, shoulders come over the wrists. We can stay on our toes or lower our knees. Exhaling down, chaturanga. Inhaling to cobra or up dog, lifting the heart. Exhaling, downward dog or child's pose. Stepping the right foot by the hands. Helping it get there if it gets stuck, staying on toes or lowering the left knee. Left hand stays down, right arm reaches up into that twist. And we'll release and take the left foot up to the front, forward fold. Inhaling, reverse swan dive all the way up. Exhaling, hands into the heart. And inhaling, reaching arms up. Exhaling as we fold with soft knees, hands come down to the mat. This time our left foot steps to the back. And again, we can stay on toes or drop that knee down. Left hand stays on the mat, right arm reaches up into that twist. Releasing that right hand, taking the right foot back, downward dog or child's pose. Inhaling forward to plank, shoulders over wrists, staying on toes or lowering knees. Exhaling down, chaturanga. Inhaling to cobra or dog. Exhaling, downward dog or child's pose. Stepping the left foot up by the hands. Staying on toes or dropping that right knee. Right hand stays down, left arm reaches up into that twist. And we'll release it, taking the right foot up, forward fold. Inhaling, reverse swan dive all the way up. Exhaling, hands into heart center. And inhaling, reaching arms up. Exhaling as we fold with soft knees. Hands come down to the mat. Right foot steps to the back. Again, we can stay on toes or lower the knee. Right hand stays down. Left arm reaches up into that twist. Releasing the left hand, taking the left foot back for downward dog or child's pose. Inhaling plank. Staying on toes or dropping knees. Exhaling, chaturanga. Inhaling, cobra or dog. Exhaling, downward dog or child's pose. Stepping the right foot by the hands. Staying on toes or dropping the left knee. Left hand stays down, right arm reaches up into that twist. And we release it, taking the left foot up to the front. Inhaling, reverse swan dive all the way up. Exhaling, hands into heart center. And we'll do that once more on the left. Inhaling, reaching. Exhaling, folding. Left foot steps back. We stay on toes or drop the knee. Left hand stays down. Right arm reaches up and twist. Releasing that hand, taking the right foot down. Downward dog or child's pose. Inhaling to plank. Exhale, chaturanga. Inhale, cobra or dog. Exhale, downward dog or child's pose. Stepping the left foot up by the hands. Staying on toes or dropping the knee. Right hand stays down. Left arm reaches up and twist. And releasing, taking the right foot up. Inhaling, reverse swan dive all the way up. Exhaling, hands into heart center. And releasing arms down into Tadasana mountain pose. So just pausing here. If you're feeling a little overheated, you can take some open mouth exhales to let some of that extra heat out. You're still feeling overheated, we can do a little cooling breath. Let's all do that. So there's a couple of options. The first one is if you're able to roll your tongue like that, making a little straw with your tongue, you can breathe in through that little straw and then exhale out through the nose. If you can't roll your tongue, you're gonna sort of like grimace a little bit and breathe in over your flat tongue. So we're bringing air over our wet tongue to kind of cool the air down. So you're either gonna do this Or we're going to do this. Just a little bit of that cooling breath to cool things back down. So it's a great technique on a hot day such as today. All right, let's come back up to the top of our mat, inhaling and reaching arms up. Exhaling, swan dive down forward. Hold the soft knees, hands come to the mat. Let's step our right foot back. And we're going to turn that foot out up to 90 degrees, coming up for warrior two, Virabhadrasana V, reaching those arms out parallel to the floor. So opening hips, shoulders to the side. Knee is still pointing towards the toes on that left leg. Shoulders relaxing down away from the ears. Breathing here, so you can always employ that cooling breath. You need it. Let's go ahead and straighten out our left leg and we'll release our hands to our hips. Turning this left foot in so it is parallel with the right, or we could be a little bit pigeon-toed if we want. On an inhale, lengthening the spine, looking up at the ceiling. Exhaling as we fold, coming into our prasarita. Let's bring our both hands down to the mat. We can widen our stance or bend our knees, whatever we need to do to get our hands down. And then walk our hands off the side of the mat just a little bit so that the weight starts to rock into the front of the feet. The spine lengthens. And then we'll place our left hand directly underneath our face. The right hand is going to come to the low back and we'll start to turn towards the back end of our mat to the right. You can leave that hand resting on the back. You can extend it up toward the ceiling if you prefer. Let's release this twist. Walk our hands around to the front of the mat, turning the feet. Let's lower that right knee down, coming into a low lunge. We can keep the back toes tucked under or take the top of the foot down to the mat. Making sure that our left knee is over our left ankle, the right knee is behind the right hip. And let's walk our way up this left leg, clasping our hands together on top of the thigh, lifting the chest, sinking the hips down towards the mat. Feeling a nice stretch through that right hip flexor, the front of that right hip. Let's bring our hands into heart center. We'll take a twist here. Right elbow comes to the outside of the left thigh, or if that's a little bit too much, we can bring our right hand to the outside of the left thigh. Left hand can rest on the lower back. We have the option, if we want, to tuck our right toes under and lift that knee. If we're lifting that back knee, let's release it down to the mat. We'll unwind our twist, bringing our hands down to frame the foot. Stepping our left foot back into downward dog or child's pose. Or if you're needing to warm back up, if you're not warm enough, you can step back into plank and flow through vinyasa. I'm just going to step back to down dog because it's pretty warm in my room. But if you're choosing that vinyasa, you'll step back to plank, your chaturanga, upward dog or cobra, and then meet us back in downward facing dog. So I'm going to turn myself around so I don't have my back to you guys when we do the other side. So from downward dog, let's step the right foot up by the hands. Turning that left foot out up to 90 degrees. We'll come up for warrior two on the other side. So reaching those arms out. You can always rest the hands on the hips or at heart center if the shoulders or the arms are bothering us today, if we prefer that. Right knee is pointing over the right toes. Shoulders are stacked over the hips. We're relaxing them down away from the ears. Breathing here. Let's straighten out this right leg and release our hands to our hips, turning the right foot in so it is parallel with the left, or maybe even a little bit pigeon-toed. With hands on hips, inhaling, lengthening the spine, looking up. Exhaling as we fold, reaching hands down to the mat or a block, maybe bending those knees, maybe widening the stance. We'll walk our hands off the side of the mat a little bit so the weight starts to rock into the front of the feet. Spine is lengthening, reaching out through the crown of the head. Placing our right hand underneath the face, the left hand comes the low back, and we twist to the left. Leaving that hand on the back or floating it up toward the ceiling. Gently unwinding that twist. Walking our hands around to the front of the mat, turning the feet. Dropping that left knee down, making sure right knee is over the ankle, left knee is behind the hip, maybe patting that knee as needed. We'll walk up this right leg, clasping hands together on top of the thigh, lifting the chest, sinking the hips down towards the mat. Moving into that twist, bring the hands into heart center. Left elbow to the outside of the right thigh, or left hand to the outside of the right thigh, right hand to the low back. Option to tuck the left toes under and lift the knee. We have that back knee lifted. Let's release it. We'll unwind our twist, bring our hands down to frame the foot. Stepping that right foot back to downward dog, child's pose, or to plank for a vinyasa, your choice. And once we make it back into downward facing dog, we'll just lower our knees to come to all fours. So we're going to move into frog. So if you don't want to do frog today, for whatever reason, you can do garland pose, which is a low squat. So I'll demonstrate that quickly. This would be your garland pose, or you could sit down and take butterfly pose again, or really any of your favorite hip opener of your choice. So if you're wanting to do frog with me today, I'm going to face away from you so you can see a little bit better what we're doing. From all fours, we're going to start to walk the knees away from each other, turning the feet out as we go, and making sure that our knees and our ankles are 90 degrees. And then we can stay here up on our palms. If we want, we can lower down to elbows. And then if we need a little more, we'll start to sink the hips back towards our heels. We'll hold here for a few breaths. And to release, we'll come back up to our palms. If we drop to elbows, we'll bring our feet together and then we'll hop our knees together. Then I'm going to just turn myself back around onto my mat. We'll come into child's pose, any version you like, except let's focus on keeping our knees together. We'll give ourselves a little break for those hips, but Whatever you want to do with your arms is totally fine. And we'll go ahead and sit up and take our legs around to the front. Extending our legs out long. Let's bend this right knee. And we'll step this right foot up and over to the outside of the left thigh. We can leave our left leg straight or we can bend it underneath us. And then we'll hug that knee with the left arm, taking the right arm behind us for a twist. So we can stay here, just hugging that knee in, or if we like, we can bring the elbow past the knee, or we can bind this pose, reaching the left arm between the legs and coming behind the back of the right, trying to connect the fingers. Let's unwind our twist, but keep our legs crossed. If you don't already have this lower leg bent underneath you, we're going to bring both hands over to the left side of the mat, kind of roll onto that left hip and bend that left leg to the right. And then we're going to sit up. So we're setting up for cow's face pose. So we did a version of this on our backs earlier. We'll do the seated version. If you want to come back onto your back and cross your right leg over your left thigh and then pull on those ankles again, feel free to do that. We're just going to do the lower half of this pose. So we're not going to do the arms today. Holding onto our ankles here and then folding. So it's a little bit different sensation doing this pose seated as opposed to lying down. Gravity is working on the body in a different way. And then let's release that. We'll uncross our legs, extending that right leg out long, bending the left knee. We'll step that foot up and over. So we can keep that right leg straight or bend it underneath us now. Hugging the knee with the right arm. We'll take the left arm behind us for that twist. And again, we can hug the knee or we can bring the elbow past the knee or we can bind this pose. Unwinding our twist, but keeping our legs crossed. If that right leg is straight, let's bring both hands to the right side of the mat, rolling onto the right hip, bending that right leg to the left, and we'll sit back up. And then trying to work our knees together so they're stacked on top of each other. Holding on to our feet or ankles, and then folding into Gomukhasana, cow's face pose. We'll release. Let's uncross our legs. And we'll roll it all the way down onto the back, hugging the knees into the chest. Let's take some small rocks here from side to side. Placing hands on kneecaps, circling them around, first in one direction. And then in the opposite direction. Coming back to the center, hugging the right knee in, releasing the left leg, giving that right knee a nice squeeze. Standing the right leg up, pointing and flexing that foot a few times. Circling the foot first in one direction, the opposite direction. Grabbing anywhere along the leg or using your strap, pulling the right leg in for a hamstring stretch. Your left leg can be bent or straight. opening that right leg up to the right side, keeping the left side of the body anchored to the mat, maybe placing hand on that hip to hold it down or activating the muscles in that left leg. Taking that right leg up and across the body over to left, extending the right arm out into a T, keeping the right shoulder grounded, maybe looking down that right arm. Releasing and bring that right leg back up, bending both knees, crossing the right ankle over the left thigh for figure four stretch, reaching the right arm between the legs and pulling on the left leg. So you can clasp the hands on the back of the thigh or the front of the shin. Try and line that left knee up over the left shoulder. Releasing that right leg, hugging the left knee in. Taking that leg up, pointing and flexing the foot a few times. And circling it for some one direction. And then in the opposite direction. Grabbing anywhere along the leg or using your strap, pulling that left leg in for a hamstring stretch. The right leg can be bent or straight. Opening that left leg out towards the left side, keeping the right side of the body rounded. Taking that left leg up and across the body over to the right, extending the left arm out into a T, keeping the left shoulder on the mat, and looking down that left arm. And releasing, bring that left leg back up, bending both knees, crossing the left ankle over the right thigh, reaching the left arm between the legs and pulling on the right leg, lining that right knee up over the right shoulder. And release, hugging the knees into the chest, extending arms out into a T, either dropping both knees to the right, or if you want, you cross the left leg over the right thigh first, and then take the knees to the right, keeping both shoulders on the mat, and looking down that left arm. And we'll release and switch sides. So we cross legs one way, crossing the other way, and we'll drop our knees to the left. And releasing, uncrossing the legs if they're crossed, hugging the knees into the chest, giving them a nice squeeze. And then releasing it all down. So preparing for your guided meditation. So if you have any things that you need to gather to make yourself more comfortable for your meditation, go ahead and take a moment to get those things together. And then we'll settle into any comfortable place, any comfortable position. Closing the eyes. Slowing down the breath. Take a few moments to relax and let go of the stress and knots of tension. You start to feel the weight of your body pull to the ground, and yet you feel light. Inhaling, and you feel your body become lighter. Exhaling, you feel gravity pulling you to the earth. With each moment, each breath, you let go and relax. Letting each breath be a wave of relaxation. Starting to relax each muscle as you go. Start to surrender the muscles from the crown of the head down through the whole head and the face. Breath by breath, continuing to move down into the neck and shoulders. Moving down the body, releasing and relaxing as you go. Next, relaxing the muscles in your shoulders and arms, down and out to the hands and the fingers, letting go of any of the remaining stress or tension, softening with each and every breath a bit more, relaxing a little more. Inhaling and exhaling, relaxing the chest, back, abdomen, and lower back. Relaxing down into the hips, letting the tension melt into the earth. Breathing slowly, feeling your legs relaxing. Surrendering the muscles in your upper legs and thighs. Moving down into the knees, moving the breath into the lower legs. Let the stress fall away from your calves, finally from your ankles, feet, and out of your toes. Your body is completely relaxed, completely at peace. Your mind is completely relaxed, completely at peace. Your heart is completely relaxed, completely at peace. Start to wiggle the fingers and toes, circling ankles and wrists, and reaching the arms up overhead, stretch, and release. Either rolling to one side or hugging the knees into the chest, taking a few deep breaths before you make your way up to seated. Into any comfortable seat you choose to finish the practice today, and we'll finish 3 nice deep breaths. Inhaling, reaching arms up, and exhaling them down. Inhaling up, and exhaling down. Once more, inhaling up. Bring the hands together at heart center as we exhale. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste.